attacked by the vandals. In fact, that's the latest piece of information. So first, what we were learning was that the Supreme Court in Kathmandu was set on fire. And in more breaking inputs, what we are learning is that the former Prime Minister of Nepal, Mr. Khanal's wife in Kathmandu, has been attacked. In fact, so much so she's also suffered burn marks and injuries. And this is very much in line with what has been happening so far, not just with the former Prime Minister, but also we've seen happen with the ministers in the KP Sharma Oli cabinet, where we've seen visuals also of the finance minister being chased and running amok on the road. And the latest, what we can tell you is that the former Prime Minister of Nepal, Jhalanath Khanal's wife, has suffered these burn injuries. Very disturbing visuals, in fact, coming over there. If I may show them to you, she's almost collapsed on the road over here, as she's also surrounded by the forces who are checking in on her. But in inputs that we are receiving so far is that she was burnt by the vandals. Who are these protesters? Are they the Gen Z protesters? We do not know. Or are there political parties? We still can't say for sure. But in fact, that's Jhalanath's wife, completely collapsed on the road as the forces continue to check in on her. On that note, let me quickly go across to Siddhant, who will share more inputs with us. But remember, this is not all right. So you can see a closer view of that. She's in fact suffered severe burn marks, as what we can see, and she's in fact in an unconscious state. It's a very, very serious condition from what it appears. Unfortunately, very tragic visuals coming in. Akhilesh continues to stay with us. Akhilesh, what do you make of this kind of tragic visuals, in fact, coming across? Who is responsible for this kind of vandalism, the arson and these kind of attacks? That too, I mean, eventually at the end of the day, they are all members of the politics in Nepal. You're looking at the wife of the former Prime Minister.
No, I totally agree with you. I mean, it is not good. These unfortunate developments, despite the larger light at the end of the tunnel, and this will definitely impact the transition and drag it rather than have a broader, quick political acceptance. And I've just posted actually on my own Twitter saying that appealing to Gen Z to stay calm and give transition a space and let it work, And then I see similar appeals from people across the not the parties. The parties for now are like not seen as like credible messengers, but others, kind of like thought leaders, writers, civil society representatives, it's come across, and then if there is one single message that's trending in the social media, other than these the incidents of violence, etc., it's one singular appeal for calm.
But Akhilesh, what can you share with us with regards to the protesters? Because till yesterday, in fact till today, all the protesters that we have been speaking to have said that we always wanted to protest peacefully, and that our protests have in fact been hijacked by certain political elements, even foreign elements. What is it that you can share with us? Akhilesh, if you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
What is it that you can share with us with regards to these protesters? Are they just Gen Z protesters, or is there an involvement of outsiders as well, whether political or foreign NGOs?
Not foreign NGOs, I think. I would like to hope not the parties that have been discredited. But as a protest as broad-based as this, there's always a danger, There's no unifying force or two. There's no unifying voice. Balin is popular, doesn't mean he's a leader accepted across the board. Gen Z, yes, but how do you even define Gen Z anyway? Does every household person is a big follower of Balin Saab, currently the most popular face, it seems, yeah? So it'll probably take a while, next 2 hours, 24 hours, 72 hours, before everything coalesces into place. I hope sooner than later, honestly. I don't like the disturbing images myself, some of them trending on my own social media, handles. But we shall see. That's all I can say as an honest analyst, and don't want to over speculate over events that I don't have enough information
That
about.
also begs the question, why have the forces, including the army, failed to contain this kind of anger, the vandalism and arson that we are witnessing, and the kind of attacks we are seeing against all of the political elite?
Yeah, I would like to think this, Balin has been a mayor, right? He's not been a national leader yet. So he's got to grow a pace, fast, and say, what does it require to be a good, it's nice to be a good mayor, right? Controlling a city, not even its every aspects of its life. Now it's an entirely different thing to control a country in serious crisis. And how do you mobilize the forces you don't know or you are beginning to know? Do you have enough support from the people who have just been discredited, or they really want to
All right,
discredit you?
Akhilesh, I'm sorry to interrupt you there. I can see some breaking inputs coming in that President Ram has in fact resigned as far as the Nepalese president is concerned, and what we are also being told is that the army is going to make an address. I quickly want to take that forward with you, Akhilesh. What do you make of the army's address now? What should we expect as far as that address that's all set to take place in some time from now? The army chief of Nepal will be making that address.
I don't know what will. Are you asking me a question
Yes,
there?
yes, yes.
I don't know what he will, but he will definitely appeal for calm. But also, I mean, one to have some kind of like political, to be seen as also not how interventionist force, more an assisting force. That's the history of Nepal army, unlike some of the armies in the region.
All right, stay with me as I bring those breaking inputs for our viewers. In fact, in the latest inputs, we can tell you that the president of Nepal, Ramchandra Podal, has also resigned. He's in fact one of the last one in the string of high-profile resignations that Nepal has witnessed today. It began with 4 ministers, one of them being the Home Minister, and then soon was followed by Nepal's Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli. And in the latest that we can bring to you is that President Ramchandra Podal has resigned. And in other breaking inputs also, what we are learning is that the army chief in Nepal will also be making an address. Remember, the situation remains extremely volatile on the ground level. We've just shown you how the wife of a former prime minister of Nepal has been burnt as well. She suffered severe burn injuries and she was in fact lying collapsed. But in the latest, amid this kind of mounting pressure on the political elite of KP Sharma Oli's government, in fact, in the latest, what we can tell you is that President Ramchandra Podal has also resigned. I quickly go back to Akhilesh, who continues to stay with us. So, Akhilesh, take us through what do you make of the political scenario at the moment? Is this an indication that early elections are now the need of the hour?
Yeah, I mean, like I've actually said it in public already. In order for us not to derail from the constitutional process and stick to constitutionalism, perhaps the best way out is early elections.
All right, we'll try and fix your frame in the meantime, but I want to just keep taking our viewers to all the latest inputs coming in. In the latest, what we can tell you is President Ramnath Podal has resigned over there, and Akhilesh is back with us. Akhilesh, yes, please, go ahead.
Yeah, what I have been saying, including in my social media post, is the best way out in order for Nepal to not derail the constitutional process or constitutionalism. The best way out perhaps is declare an early election, and the country then goes through political transition, but also cathartic process of then cleansing itself. And new leaders will emerge, as they all do in these crisis situations. And new parties will coalesce and say, okay, we shake hands, those guys will not do, And these are also if handled well, the time for when the changes take a pace fast. Instead of like years, this just happen in 2 days, 6 days, 6 months. And I would like to say, as I already said in my post, maybe give it a 6-month time, army or the law and order comes to place, new forces coalesce together or emerge, new leaders will be have a more political buy-in with the public. Yeah, and then it will be a smoother transition towards election than declaring it overnight and then the national apparatus, the state apparatus being completely
All
unprepared.
right, stay with me, Akhilesh. I'm also joined in by our correspondent Siddhant, who's been tracking all the latest developments for us from Nepal. In fact, Siddhant, if you could shed more light on the resignations that have just come in, not to forget the severe burn marks that have been suffered by the wife of the former Prime Minister of Nepal.
Well, as we were discussing before, it's a complete breakdown of law and order in Kathmandu. In fact, all the senior leadership of Kathmandu, their houses have been attacked. They have been attacked. In fact, Deoba family was rescued. Both Arzu Deoba and her relatives were rescued by the locals as a mob attacked their house. The same was the case with KP Oli's personal residence. It was attacked. President's personal residence was attacked. So it's a complete breakdown of law and order in Nepal at this point in time. What we're getting to know is that army is going to take over the administration. That's what Manoj Gupta is bringing for us. But how that's going to happen, we really don't know. But we could expect in some time from now, there could be a briefing by the Nepalese army, perhaps announcing the takeover.
All right. In terms of the kind of attacks that have taken place, what are you learning from your sources, Siddhant? Who is responsible for these attacks? Many protesters have in fact gone on record to deny that it is not the Gen Z protesters who have resorted to this kind of arson and violence, but we do see many are in fact the youth which are taking to this kind of violence on the streets of Kathmandu. We seem to have lost that connection with Siddhant, but let's quickly go back to Akhilesh, who continues to stay with us. So, Akhilesh, from what the feelers we are getting at the moment is that the army is going to step in on expected lines.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's time.
But you say it is time. What does one now expect next? In how many months or days can one expect general elections to take place?
I haven't followed elections, so, the process of elections so closely now. I would like to think, as with a country as large, comparatively large, it's not Bhutan by any stretch. It's going to take time, to get the roles in order, election roles in order, but also many other things like election officials. There could be a lot of changes in the election process itself, I don't know. This is up in the air for now, but I would like to say more 6 months would be a good time when there will be a political buy-in to buy-in of new actors in the process, and but also the bureaucracy begins to get its acts together. I would like to say, it's a very, very top of the mind cutoff point. I would say it's 6 months.
All right. In fact, going to slip into a quick break. Stay with me, Akhilesh. We have plenty to discuss right now as Nepal stands at a turning point as far as the politics in the nation is concerned. With that, we're slipping into a quick break. Stay tuned to Nation at 5 as we return with the latest news and updates.
Huge development. The Nepalese Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, who is in his third term, who's been Prime Minister over a little over a year now, has just put in his papers. That's the word. He had called for an all-party meeting later this evening where we're given to understand that he will make this official. He will officially say this to all the parties concerned. Hundreds of thousands of young protesters, nicknamed the Gen Z protesters, they came down